The 7 hubs of the human machine. The objective of this conference is for us to learn where they are, what kind of energy does it use, what's its function, how do they work in our everyday life, how to save energy in order for them to work well and we could use them in a better way. Okay, so there are 7 hubs. It's really important for us to understand that one thing is a hub and another thing is a chakra. Okay, they're both very different. So the hubs are on our spinal cord. Okay, and the chakras are outside our body. Okay, though they are almost at the same length, but they have a different function. Okay, but in order for the chakras to work well, we need to have these hubs working with its own energy and working well. So it's really important for us to understand today's conference. So we will start with the sexual hub. We'll begin from down and going up. So the sexual hub, it's at the coccyx. Okay, it uses sexual creative energy. Okay, and its function is to create through sex, but it has 3 ways of creating. Okay, so it will create through suprasex, normal sex, and infrasex. So there are 3 types. Okay, so through suprasex, what it's going to do is to regenerate the body. Okay, heal the body and create the inner bodies of the soul. That's a conference that we will see later on. But for you to understand better what is suprasex, it's what I have here in this picture. Okay, when the couple is together, they activate their kundalini using the sexual energy. So that sexual energy that is here at the sexual hub, it's going to go up and it's going to touch each one of those chakras. Okay, and it's going to make them with this energy for them to open. Okay, but this is a practice that you must do constantly, and that soon you will have that conference. But that is what I'm talking about, super sex. So that's what they call tantric sex or yoga sex, is this kind of practice. Okay, normal sex is only to reproduce the human being. Okay, so in that practice, it's almost as similar as the suprasex. What is the objective of this one in order to be successful? And the difference from the type of sex that everyone knows is that there is no ejaculation, there is no orgasm. So when a person wants to have a baby, they have the same suprasex practice, but they only one sperm is going to come out, and that's the one that the person is going to be creating or having a baby with. Okay, so you're going to be only using one sperm. Okay, and the infrasex is fornication. Okay, it's all kind of sex where there is a sexual disorder, and there is a specific conferences to talk about those sexual disorders that there are in the mind. Okay, but as you have seen, we handle a lot of topics, and each topic has a lot of information, and today's topic of the 7 hubs, it's also a lot of information, so we will leave that for another day. Okay, but that's the sexual hub, and that's its function, is to create through any of those 3. Okay, they also have a defect. Okay, there is a defect there that is sloth. Okay, laziness. And it's kind of like awkward to say, but why laziness in sex? Of course, to have sex, it gives you won't be lazy, of course. I mean, you get excited, you get happy, you dress up. Okay, all of our friendship with the world communicates through lust. Okay, so here, when it gets to having the super sex practice, that is when that defect attacks the person and you feel lazy, like, oh man. It's like when you're going to meditate, okay? You like meditation, but not all the time you're willing to do it, okay? You want to watch TV, you want to go out, it is a sunny day, oh, let's have a barbecue, you want to be with your friends, Facebook, WhatsApp, okay? There you have that emotion, like, yeah, let's do it, right? But when it comes to meditate, you feel like, oh, but wait, let me go eat something first, or, oh yeah, after my favorite TV program is over. That's the same thing that happens with the super sex practice. All of these, it's like this kind of energy that it's like, oh, but, and it comes out with excuses, okay? But when it comes to infrasex, there is always there an emotion like, yeah, let's go do it. Because inside us, there's always something like that. When it's to do something wrong, we're like, yeah, let's try, let's go do it. There's an excitement. But to do good things, it's like, yeah, but later, wait, hold on, okay? So that's like the feeling that this defects makes us have, okay? Also, the 5 senses are in these conferences, okay? So the sense that appears here in the sexual hub is touch, okay? And for our sexual energy to activate, it needs touch, right? Like any sexual activity. I mean, just for someone to take our hand or touch our face, it's already activating our energy. Like, oh, yes. Okay, it activates immediately, like what you want. Okay, so that's what happens here. So that's what this hub does and uses. Okay, then we have the instinctive hub, okay, which is here. Okay, that instinctive hub, what it does is that the function for it is to apprehend. It is similar to, say, learning, but there is a slight difference, okay? To apprehend is already something that is inside us that we have already learned, okay? But we learn it again because we don't recall it, okay? But this apprehension is something that it only comes from the instinct. For example, when a woman is going to give birth, how does she know what to do? I mean, imagine many years ago, okay? I imagine the first human beings when they were pregnant, or even before that, the first human beings when they just felt in love and they just don't know how, but they end up having sex. I mean, how did they know how to do it? That's in the instinct part of human being. So it's the same thing to give birth. It's just in the instinct of the woman of what to do, okay, of what's going on. Oh my God, there's something inside me growing and moving, and it's just the instinct to know of what's going on, okay? When there is a tsunami, for example, and people say that they just saw a big tree and they climbed it, okay? But they don't know how to climb. They just did it. And then maybe after all the disaster finishes, they're up there thinking like, okay, now how am I going to get down? Because it's just information that you learned that is in your instinct, okay? So to apprehend is also to learn again, okay? But to learn, in order for that hub to learn, it needs desire, okay? It only learns through desire. So it's not learning through memory like we did at school, you know, that we had a quiz, so we just had to memorize the information. We memorize history, we memorize mathematics, we memorize everything in order just to get a good grade. Then when we finish school years later, we have a kid and then he asks us, Mom, how does this thing work? And we're there like, I don't remember that. Why don't we remember it? Because it wasn't in our desire, in our way of learning. Okay, so here the defect is greed, which is obvious because it's also about desire, and it always wants more and more and more. So there is greed, and in a way of learning, well, it is good to have the greed of learning, but one thing, it's learning from a book, and we could search all we want about a topic, okay, but it's very different from us to really have that information and use it normal without having just information. Okay, so for example, in order to explain it better, people read about themselves, how to change, how to start knowing yourself. Okay, coaching, for example. So you just read and read, but you don't change. Okay, so why? Because there isn't a real learning. You're just getting information and information and information, but you're not putting it in practice. That's the word. Okay, so when there is no practice, you are not really learning. Okay, but there is what is greed. Okay, so that's what that function does. And the sense that is here is taste. So when we taste something, there is greed because we want more, and we're searching for that same taste of the first time. So it usually always happens that when we taste something for the first time, we want it to taste again, and we eat it again. Well, not that same time. Another day, we ask for the same thing, and the taste is not the same. We don't get that same experience as it was in the first time, and we keep on wanting more because we keep on searching for that taste, what it made us felt that time. Okay. The next one, the third one, is the lower emotional hub. Why does it say lower? Because there is a low emotional hub and there is a higher emotional hub. Okay, so there are two, so that's how we know the difference. Okay, you're talking about the lower one, not the higher one. Okay, so in the lower emotional hub, as its name says, this is about emotions. Okay, this hub, it's on, it's on our spinal cord, but it's at the length of our belly button. Okay, so here we're talking about emotions. When you feel scared, frightened or something, just cover with your right hand or your left hand, just cover your belly button, and you're going to notice how that calms you down. Okay, how it makes you feel a little bit better, but it's because you're working there with that part. Okay, so it uses emotional energy. The one before, sorry, I forgot to say, in the instinctive hub, it uses vital energy. Okay, and in that vital energy, there is what it is called, that hub uses all the waters of the body, and it handles the ADN. Okay, that's why all the information that we recall is in there. Okay, or sorry, that's why the information that we don't recall is there. It's in that hub because it works with all the waters of the body, and it is where our ADN is. Okay, going back to the emotional energy, it has to do with, obviously, with all our emotions, all of our feelings. So its function its function is to feel, okay? So it feels positive and negative emotions, okay? So it doesn't mean that the good, that whatever you consider a positive emotion is good and that the bad emotion is bad, okay? It is a feeling of something. Like if somebody dies, then it's not bad for you in that moment to feel sad, right? So we won't, in that time, we won't consider it negative, okay? But it is negative if nothing happening, you're feeling low, you're feeling depressed. Then there you say, well, yeah, I'm having here a problem, okay? Considering yourself good, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm always happy, life is beautiful, doesn't mean that that is also something positive, okay? You have to go into that emotion and ask yourself, why? What makes you feel that way? Maybe you will find that is that you have some concepts there in your mind that make you think that that is good, okay? You're going to find that maybe deep inside you're just scared because somebody programmed something inside you that if you do bad, this is going to happen to you. So you're the way of being, or the way the person decided to be is that way, but because behind it the person feels that they are obligated to be that way, okay? But inside their mind they have a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of bad ways of being, or they enjoy watching a lot of violence, okay? So that manifests in another way. And the defect that is there is lust, and the sense is smell. So they are all connected, okay? Because with the smell, if there is a good smell, it activates our feeling, right? We want to go and eat it, touch it, and taste it. We want to have it, okay? And the same way works with lust, okay? We see it in the dogs. They are always smelling, and they're there smelling to see where they find sex, okay? That's why they get all excited when the dog has their PMS. They're always there wanting to be there, but it's because of that sense of smell, okay? So the same happens with lust, okay? When certain perfumes, they put hormones and it activates your lust because of the smell. So we have a smell. Imagine when you're in the train, and it may has happened to you, okay? Let's say you're not facing the door, but you just feel the smell and you just imagine that, wow, you know, that person, just because of the smell, it activates your sexual energy too. And you're like, and you just turn around to see, and you're expecting to see someone visually attractive to you, okay? And maybe the person is not, and you're like, oh, but it was the perfume. But maybe it is, and you're like, yes, I knew it, okay? So that comes from that hub, okay? So that's what its function is, to make us feel. The fourth hub is the lower intellectual hub, okay? So as the same as the one before, it was about lower. So they're set lower because up here they are the higher ones. You have the higher intellectual and the higher emotional. So that's why here in the conferences when we speak, we will be telling you, oh, the lower emotional or the higher emotional one, okay? So the lower intellectual hub is on our spinal cord, but it's at the height of our heart, okay? And the function of this hub is to think, okay? That's what it does. It makes us think. That's why they tell you, you know, don't think with your mind, just think with your heart. Listen to your heart. That's what they're trying to tell you, okay? Because the mind puts too many problems to something. But what if this and what if that happens? Okay, and it gives you like all of these things that could happen. But if you just listen to your heart is just going to tell you what you should do. Okay, even if it may sound crazy or something, but you just listen to your heart, and that's what you must do. Okay, so that's its function. But the defect here is the pride. Okay, and the sense is hearing. How are they connected? Well, when people, since this is intellectual, yes, when people are intellectual and they have read so many books and they have all of this information, okay, or they're gifted because they have a really good memory and they could recall all of that, then their pride is much bigger, okay, and they always want to be right according to the information that they have read. So they're always listening just to go into that chat and say, well, that is not true because in 19 I don't know what, this president did this and that, and because of that in the year 2000 and this happened. Okay, or because according to the latest research they already know that the brain works this way and that. Okay, so they're always listening just to, in a way, well, the ego wants to show off. Maybe him as a person, he just wants to correct people and teach them. But unfortunately, the ego inside is feeding itself with pride. Okay. The next hub is the motor hub. That motor hub is at this height. Okay. So the motor hub, as its name says, it uses motive energy. Okay, so it's the one that's going to make us be doing here and there. Okay, but with this motive energy, there are different ways to do things. Okay, so also it's by speaking. Okay, that's why it's here on our throat, at the height of the throat. Okay, that's why they say that the words are powerful. Okay, that sometimes they say like, oh my God, you cursed me, because it's the power that you have in the words. Okay, also omission, which I don't know if it's with double S, but also omission, it's another way of doing. Why? Because if we either talk or not, something is going to happen. Okay, so maybe if we keep quiet, things are going to work out better, or if we talk, we could mess things up. But it could be the opposite way. Okay, maybe you shouldn't be quiet that time, and what you had to do is that you had to speak, but you didn't, and because you didn't speak, then other things happen. Okay, but it also makes things to happen. And with action, obviously our acts are in that hub. Okay, the sense here that we have is the sight, and the defect is wrath. Okay, wrath is anger. Okay, how are they connected? When we see that something is not fair, right away anger comes. Okay, that defect is activated. It's like if you had a button. Okay, so you see that something is not fair, and right away you touch that button and you feel anger. It's like when you're watching the news. You watch the news and they tell you, like, you know, this little kid, only 2 years old, and he was taken away from his family and he was found dead, and they tortured the little kid. So you immediately get upset and you're like, oh my God, but how can somebody be so cruel? They should burn him, because it's that defect that is speaking through you. Okay, so that's what it has to do with that hub. Okay, so up to here we have the 5 hubs that work with our energy, okay, with our sexual energy, with our, I already forgot the name, so sorry guys, with our vital energy, with our mental energy. That's why we study very much. After a time we feel like, oh no, I have to sleep a little so you can recover, and it's because you already used your mental energy. Okay, motive energy. Sometimes we have a great trip, we call vacations, but already like the 5th day you don't want to go out anymore, and you're like, oh my God, I'm tired, because you have used your motive energy. So those different energies from the first 5 hubs depend on the way we use those different energies and the things that we do during our daily life. But the other 2 hubs don't use our own energy, okay? They use the energy of the universe, okay? That's why they're called higher, okay? Because they are higher hubs with a higher intelligence, and they don't work on whatever we do, okay? They don't depend on us, okay? So the 6th one is the higher emotional hub, okay? So it uses energy from the consciousness, and its function is to judge, okay? But since this is a higher hub, it judges in a different way than we do, okay? We judge in a way that is not fair, okay? Only to what we see, think, do, or our own way of being. That's how we judge, okay? We don't even have proof. But anyways, we say, yeah, I know it was like that, okay? It has clairvoyance. It could see. So it sees the person's past and future, okay? So it judges being right, okay? Thing that we don't do, okay? So that's why it is higher, okay? The defect there is gluttony, okay? It is not only about eating, okay? It is not only about eating. It is a problem of disequilibrium, okay? That we have a total disorder, and we're not equal in everything that we do, okay? We don't eat well, we don't exercise well, we don't have an equilibrium, we don't sleep well, okay? We don't have an equilibrium with money, with our way of being, with our anger, with our friends. So that's why it is higher, but that defect comes from there, okay? Once we learn to control our gluttony, we will be better judges. In order to activate that sense, we need to start doing self-auto-observation, okay? We need to be seeing ourselves as we really are. Maybe, and here it's where they say that it is the law of the mirror, that whatever you see outside, it's a reflection of your inside. Okay, so for example, a person may say like, you know what, well, the person doesn't make friends with their neighbors, okay, and the person says, no, I don't like making friends with the neighbors because they are so nosy, you know, they just want to know all about you and they're not here to help. And you're like, well, okay, I respect it, but what the person doesn't see is that he or she is nosy too. In what way? Well, the person is not out there asking other people questions, you know, directly, but it's always all the time through the window. And it's always looking to see what's happening. Oh, look, there's a new neighbor. The other ones left and they have 3 kids. Oh, they look like if they have money. Oh, and look at the neighbor next door. Lately, she has been dressing up. She goes out right before her husband comes out. Maybe she's going out with somebody else. Or look at the neighbor over there. He just bought a new car last week. And now he just bought a new motorcycle. I wonder what he's doing. Where is he getting so much money from? So you see, the person is nosy, but rejects the other nosy people. But it's because they are a definite reflection of its own self, okay? And sometimes it is also not that, okay, well, it is the reflection of me, but it is the reflection of something that I dislike about me. Okay, so for example, you have a daughter, and your daughter keeps wasting and wasting and wasting money, and it is not even your money, yeah, but you suffer because she keeps on wasting and wasting money. So maybe it's not because you waste money, it's because you are the opposite of that person, okay? In order for you to give, it is very difficult, okay? You just greedy and you just keep money to yourself, and you're like, no, because I have to save. What if something happens? And what if I get sick? And what am I going to do in 5 years? And you have all the excuses to don't give money, okay, not to use it. So it is the opposite of you too, okay? But this is where we have to start observing ourselves, okay? Just not let it be, but just don't judge it right away and say, I am not like that, or I am not the opposite of that. Just analyze yourself in different ways, and that's how you're going to start activating more that sense, okay? And start judging in a good way, in a right way, that's the word. And the 7th hub, it's the higher intellectual hub, okay? So we're talking about the intellect, so obviously its function is knowledge, okay? And it uses energy from the spirit. So the knowledge that it has, it comes from the universe. It's like if you practice meditation, you know that all of your thoughts, you just let them go. You don't identify yourself with them, okay? You just let them go, and you know that all of a sudden you start seeing visions. Maybe if you have a question about something, then a vision comes and it gives you the answer. And if you meditate even more, the conscious is going to come out and go to the universe, and it brings information from the 7th or the 6th dimension. This is what this is how Nikola Tesla used to do it, okay? That they cannot explain where he brought all of these things from, okay? But they just knew that all of a sudden he had some visions and that he didn't even need to write them, okay? He just started working on it, and there you go. You have the greatest inventions ever. So that's where he got it from, that higher intellectual hub, where all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom is there, okay? The defect that is there is envy, okay? Where does envy come from? From knowing, because if you don't know something, envy won't come. So let's suppose that you work with 5 more partners. Well, you're 5, okay, including yourself, and you work well. You have always worked fine, but somehow one day you went and you saw a paper, and there you read how much everybody gets paid. Of course, you always thought that you guys all had the same salary, but then you notice that one of the 5, which is not you, has a higher salary. Okay, that person has 200 more than everyone else. Okay, well, there envy starts because you already know something. Okay, so when you guys meet and you have to do a project, then the hardest part, you're going to say, well, you know, that person should do it because he gets a higher salary anyway. Okay, that somebody has to stay that day. I mean, you work from Monday to Friday, but somebody has to come on Saturday. Well, immediately you think, well, I'm not coming, it's not me. Well, that person gets 200, well, then he has to work more. So there, you know, things change, okay, just because of that. Okay, and those are the 7 hubs which are there, and that's the function of each one. Okay, also the sense of that higher intellectual one is polyvoyance. Okay, which means that has the capacity to see things through different dimensions. Okay, so the person is here, but he can be at the 5th dimension, 6th dimension, 7th dimension at the same time. Okay, so that is really, really great. If you're thinking or asking yourself, how can I do that? How can I get clairvoyance and polyvoyance? And that sounds great. This is really, really important. Okay, you must have these hubs working well with its energy. Okay, then doing the super sex practice, that's why it starts here, your sexual energy. That's why you bring it up. If these hubs are working well, when you bring this energy up, then the chakras are going to start opening and you're going to start developing all of those wonderful things. Okay, you're going to start becoming stronger, creating the bodies to be in order to live in those other dimensions too. Okay, but that's another topic. So how do these hubs work in our daily life? Every time when we go to sleep, the instinctive hub is the one who's going to give energy to the other hubs, the other 5, because remember that the higher ones don't depend on the physical body, okay, but the others do. So let's just say that they have like a cup. Okay, the instinctive hub is the one that works with our vital energy, so it's the one that gives us the energy to work. Okay, so at night when we go to sleep, this vital hub is going to take the energy and it's going to give sexual energy to the sexual hub. It's going to give emotional energy to the lower emotional hub. It's going to give mental energy to the lower intellectual hub, and it's going to give motive energy to the motor hub. Okay, so the type of energy that is here, it's all different. So we sleep well and we wake up with all of that energy. Okay, but what happens that as soon as we wake up, we already start using it. So for example, you just woke up and the first thing that you think is the time. Oh my God, what time is it? You're already stressing yourself. Okay, so there you begin with the motive energy, you know, to get up fast, to find the watch, catch your phone, then you start thinking, oh, what day is today, and you start using your mental energy. Okay, trying to think fast of all the things you have to do today. Okay, and then you look outside the window and there you start using the emotional energy, because then that's the feeling of, oh man, but the day is cold, oh, it's raining, or the opposite way, and you're like, oh, it's nice and sunny, and you get excited, okay? And when you start getting dressed or shaving and everything, you start using your sexual energy because, of course, there is lust and you want to look fine, or you start looking at yourself in the mirror and I look good, okay, things like that. So you start using that energy during the whole day. You just keep wasting that energy in different ways, okay? So at work, you have to, if you have to use the computer to read a lot and everything and be sending faxes and answering things, then you use your intellectual hub until you're exhausted and you already finished it, okay? Let's just say there's a little bit there, okay? Motor energy, running up and down, going up here and there, and then at the end of the day, you have used it, okay? Emotional energy, the whole day you're there at work or at school with your partners, then let's say that you make a lot of jokes, and so the whole day you're there laughing, or you're in this boring meeting and you're there wasting energy too, even though you're just sitting down. Emotionally, you feel like, oh God, shut up, can this finish? Oh, again, now somebody else is going to speak. Or inside you, you're like saying like, God, will you guys stop making so many questions? Okay, so all of those emotions, or through the WhatsApp, according to what we read, it takes all of our emotions too, okay? Sexual energy, the whole day we're using sexual energy too. Looking at everybody who passes, looking, staring at how they look, if they look sexy or if they look not, finding a way to get close to that new person, to ask them out. So you use sexual energy, okay? Looking at Facebook, watching porn. I mean, you're using sexual energy all the time too. Talking dirty stuff or thinking dirty. So you're there using that sexual energy. So the day finishes and you're burned out. I mean, that's it. You're exhausted, okay? And there is still a little of sexual energy, okay? So then you get home and what you do is have sex, and there you go. That little energy that you have left, you took it out of your body. So you're completely out of energy, okay? So definitely the body has been wasted and you're completely tired, and that's it. You just put yourself to one side and the next day start again, and again you waste all of that energy, and then that's when we get sick and we go to the doctor and they tell you, oh no, it's that you have stress. Of course, you're stressed. You don't have energy anymore, okay? You use up all of the energy. So how are we going to save energy during the day? You're going to ask yourself 4 things, okay? And you're going to ask yourself if this is right, okay? Is it right what you're doing? So for example, thinking. What I am thinking, is this right? Does it have an objective? I mean, is this from my conscious or it's the ego? So you just think of it, of both. I mean, is this a thought that is useful for your conscious, for you to grow, or is it from the ego? Okay, so when you start planning things from the future, or you're just daydreaming, for example, then it's something that is not useful and it is taking away the energy of the intellectual hub, okay? So definitely you say, well, no, this is not right. It's not worth it to keep on thinking of it, okay? So you just ask your conscious to kill that thought, okay? Then feeling. Let's say that you're feeling jealous for something stupid, actually, that is like, I mean, really, is it useful, that feeling, just because your couple woke up happy and put on perfume and got dressed up, and you're feeling they're jealous the whole day, looking at the phone. Oh my god, but he or she has been on WhatsApp for 15 minutes, and who's he talking to? Okay, there is it. I mean, is it really useful? I mean, is it really true? That feeling of feeling jealous and anger, and people talk to you, but you're upset, but you just don't understand why. Okay, well, is it that from the ego? Is that from the ego, or is that from the conscious? Obviously, that is not a feeling from the conscious. If we were connected to our conscious, we would really know that that person really values us, really loves us, and that there's no reason why you should feel jealous. Okay, so definitely that feeling is not right. It's just wasting my emotional energy. So I ask my conscious to kill that feeling. Okay, so since it kills that feeling, it stops absorbing that energy. Okay, acts. So the acts is this action of what I'm doing. Is it really for my conscious? I mean, I have been here 4 hours playing Xbox. I mean, is this really good for my conscious? Is this something right? Or am I wasting energy on something that has nothing to do with my spiritual path? So obviously, it is not right. So I ask my conscious to kill that action. Okay, that's it. I'll turn it off and be conscious. Start doing something that you are aware of. Okay, it's not about becoming fan and saying, oh yes, that's it. From today on, that is it. No more TV, no more Xbox. I'm not watching movies anymore. I'm just going to dedicate myself to my spiritual path. That is great, but always that is something that you're doing consciously, not because you're going to be repressing, because at the end, you're going to start doing so many things about this spiritual path and reading and doing, but since you're repressing, then a moment it's going to come where you're going to get tired of it and you're going to send it to hell, and you're going to say, I'm done with this. I just want to live my normal life. Why? Because you left your normal life in an unconscious way. Okay, so you just start asking yourself things that you're doing. Is it worth it? Why is it not worth it? Okay, why does my ego want? Okay, how is the ego feeding itself from this? Okay, because it likes violence, because it likes to be competitive, because it feeds my pride to feel that I am one of the best players of this. Okay, so there I start doing something conscious and start understanding why it is not good if it's a spiritual path what you're looking for. Okay, so it's feeling, thinking, acts, and speaking. Okay, so what you talk with your friends, does it have a real objective, or are you just there wasting time? Okay, like let's say it's Sunday, okay, and you say, well, yeah, I'm going to go with my friends, we're going to have a barbecue. Okay, but after a while you already have spent too much time there. I mean, is it right for me to continue here, or is there something more for me, for my conscious, that it's worth it for me to leave this place and go? Because what we have been doing here now and what comes next, what's going to continue here, is to keep talking things that we did in the past, and we just laugh at, oh yeah, I remember when we were in school, and remember when this happened, and remember when we went, right? So it's like really, or start talking about other people. Well, yeah, you remember that guy with the freckles that we studied with? Imagine I saw him and he did a master I don't know where, and now he's going to China. But is really all of that worth it? Okay, so you become conscious and aware that no, okay, it's not part of my growth, okay, of my inner growth. So is it worth it? I mean, is it really right just to keep you blah 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 blah, because I am here just wasting my energy, all type of energy? Okay, so you say, well, no, definitely no, this is not right. Okay, so consciously ask my conscious to kill that ego, that way of being that wants to continue and continue and continue speaking, and that's it. Start doing something different, something conscious for yourself. Okay, so that's how the 7 hops work during our day-to-day life. That's how we can start for them to work well if we use this square. Okay, asking ourselves if these things are right or not. Okay, so that's what the conference is about. Just start observing all of your hops, where they are, what kind of energy they use, what do you do in your everyday life that it makes you use more energy than normal. Okay, and just start doing less things, organizing your things in order for that energy to be working well. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching.